from working at Red Robin for doing that. When did we get to bury him in a thing and jerk off on him, though?
I'd say I could take on 3 11-year-olds.
And he clicks the button, and he's just this woman cussing him the fuck out.
Yeah.
This is the weirdest theory I've ever heard in my entire life. In a lot of ways, Big Boy's never left. I agree. He will tell you I'm a bad driver, but there's no evidence for I have intuition, and I'm convinced people fall for absolute monsters on a regular basis.
Oh, hey, here we are, guys. You're listening to Two Hippies, One Drunk podcast. I'm this week's host, Eric Fady. Thanks for checking us out. If you have not liked our Facebook page or subscribed to us on YouTube, we'd really appreciate it. Appreciate that. Stuff like that really helps us keep growing the show and the audience, which is what our goal certainly is. This show is a little different than most podcasts in that we rotate hosting roles each week between 3 longtime comic buddies. And we kind of, and then again, I'm Eric Fady, and I'm hosting this week's Two Hippies, One Drunk. So it's a little, we are finally on the road. We talked about for a long time that we were going to be doing a road trip. Anyone that follows us on social media knows that we've been on the road, but we have not done a show yet from the road, which was what we were planning on. And just a little recap of the trip is basically that we have, as we say on our intro, all done stand-up comedy for years and years. I'd always had this dream of maybe traveling around the country and just trying to do comedy in all the states and podcasting about it. And so we are doing that. And but it started off with a little bit of a situation. And that is not even the fact that we were driving 3.5 days straight to get out to LA to fly out to Hawaii. So do you want to say, either of you?
Yeah, I was just going to say really quick, like, and by we were driving, you mean you were driving. Because Tyler was allowed to drive very little, and I'm not allowed to drive at all because the intro scared Eric.
No.
Because the soundbite on the intro scared Eric.
The justifiable reasons that you suck as a driver.
There's no evidence for that.
And I will say I like driving, so there's that. And I also have a little bit of an anxiety situation with other people driving, so there's that too. But and luckily, the rest of the trip, we won't be driving nearly as long periods. We had a cannonball run style to get out to LA to try to catch a flight on New Year's Eve to fly out to Hawaii, which would seem amazing.
It would. It really would. But if Jurassic Park, which was filmed on Hawaii, would teach you anything, it's that sometimes island trips don't plan the way you were expecting them. Don't go the way you were planning.
Yeah. I was just going to say the cannonball trip or road trip across included one 14-hour day where Eric drove most of the time. Like I was going to say that too.
Yeah, that is true. and that is true. So what I'll say is that we actually had been, and by the way, my Lord, all you guys had been doing so cool following us get out to Hawaii. And we had planned on doing a podcast at Hawaii. We'd planned on doing a lot of things on Hawaii.
A lot of things. We planned a whole bunch of stuff, but didn't turn out super well. You want to tell them why, Eric?
So I guess the short story is, the way to tell it is, we woke up Friday in LA, looking ready to fly out to Hawaii, as we said. And I just wasn't feeling quite right, but these guys don't, they were, you've just been driving for pretty much 30 hours for the past few days. We're not asleep.
We've been vaccinated. We've gotten our COVID test. So we're like, you know what? You're not. We don't believe you're sick, dude. You've let everybody else drive. Your arms are tired. You've driven the hours in the last 3 days.
And also, for the first time in my life, I was washing my hands regularly. So
that's a definite contributing factor. And the last day too, you only had a burrito for your the entire day of eating too. So we were under the impression he was just sore and kind of going through fatigue of 3 days of fucking driving across the country.
And maybe the washing your hand, not like him washing his hands, is kind of like if you take certain types of fish and you put them in a pool without algae or something like that, where it's like a shock to the system.
Yeah. So anyway, the story then goes, and it's weird because we waited till we got back from back from Hawaii to really do this podcast and talk about some of this. Some of it just because we, in the end, we all couldn't do a show. So the story is, the flight starts going on. I start feeling a little more like, I don't think those guys, this feels weird to me. And we finally land. We get our rental car. I got my Michigan stuff on. I'm ready to watch the big game. And I just sit down and I start going, yeah, I don't feel good. Like at all.
Full on sick. Honestly, I said this to Eric before, but like, man, having like you were sick. We all got the stomach flu, just for the record.
Right. That's kind of where this is leading to.
Got the stomach flu, and being on that plane, if I had what I had, we were at this Airbnb, just like quarantined off and sick. That would have been the worst misery ever. That's
why I was telling them when we got up, by the time we got off the plane and we were looking for my rental car, I really was just like, I need to get this fucking car. And I was starting to tell Scott, I didn't know big deal, but I was telling someone like, guys, this isn't for me driving. And they're like, well, maybe let's get back, get some fluids in you. I've been drinking water the whole flight.
For the record, Tyler and I still absolutely did not believe you at that point.
We did not.
We were still 100% talking amongst ourselves. Like, I think Eric's having an anxiety attack. We got to get him to the place. We got to let him have a beer, let him watch the Michigan game. It's going to be totally fine. He's just been driving too much.
I know. And so it wasn't until we get there Friday, which is New Year's Eve. And it wasn't until that night when I had been zonked out after the terrible, terrible Michigan game for a few hours. And I started woken up coughing a little bit and possibly even vomiting. I hear Scott like from downstairs, maybe you are sick. Like, you son of a bitch.
It took him vomiting for us to fully go, okay. All right, he's sick. And also, I'm feeling a tingle. I'm feeling something off.
Yeah.
Something's going on here. And Scott got really, really sick first, and then it hit me. At least before it all went down, we got, cough medicine, all that stuff, and just kind of sat there.
And it was, in a weird way,
it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Our Airbnb was less than a 5-minute walk to the ocean. And I experienced almost none of that. But
it did suck too, because Hawaii is extremely expensive, you guys. Like, it's like double the price of anywhere else for groceries and shit like that. And we spent a lot of money on a lot of food when it turned out we were just going to be surviving on Dayquil and Hope.
Right. I know. I had $140 grocery, because at the time, again, sometimes when I'm feeling crappy, if it doesn't become a stomach flu, which is one of the, I know it's not one of the worst things you can have, but as a mostly healthy person where you're not talking cancer, you're not talking, it's one of the worst things you can experience is just a generically flu kind of device. And it was like, if I'm normally feeling kind of crappy, I will eat like, popcorn chicken and cook some mac and cheese and hot dogs. And so I had an $140 grocery bill, and I ate like maybe 40 of that. And most of it was just left in the fridge because I was barely eating soup most of the days.
No, it was honestly, we talked about it as it was happening and afterwards, where we were like, because the stomach flu, I feel like everybody who's had it, when you're in it, you remember how terrible it is, and then you kind of forget. Like, there was a point where each of us were like, if I died, like, okay. It's my time. And it's fine.
Yeah. Thank you for the release. I really appreciate the release out of that fucking misery that was the sickness.
Well, like my Saturday. I don't know. We're not trying. I'm not trying. I didn't want to. I should say something for people listening at this point. Normally, we would do a podcast episode where our Two Hippies One Drunk is not going to be about the road. It's going to be our normal episodes weekly on Wednesdays that are green episodes about just topics that we've been doing for a year, by the way. Yesterday, I believe, is the first time. So we've been doing this podcast for a year. Normally, this show will not all be about the road. We'll be doing a regular podcast on Wednesdays, and then Thursday, Friday, maybe even a Saturday, depending on the situation, we'll be doing an on the road version. So I don't know if I ever clarified that, because we kind of just got into it. So this is like my introing it was my week, and I chose my week to intro the audience into what the on the road episodes will be like. So next Wednesday, this will be a regular Two Hippies One Drunk episode, but we will throw in a Two Hippies on the road. So I did want to say that.
Yes.
And then so I don't remember why I was getting into that, because it's like we just got into this, and it was like, so it wasn't that this whole episode is supposed to be about us being sick in Hawaii, but so many of you were following us, and we've been getting so much more interaction on our Facebook page.
Yeah,
and then we kind of went away for a little bit, and we didn't all know what to do. We didn't all quite know how to handle it. We didn't want to keep giving updates, but not saying what was happening. And I made the call that we wanted to kind of wait till we got back in LA to do a show when we're all feeling definitely 100% and could really talk about it. So anyway.
If you had made me try to give an update in the middle of that flu, it would have been like when a cat lays on a keyboard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just nonsense.
Well, yeah, January 5th, for example, or January 2nd, which would be the Saturday, or January 1st would be the Saturday. Yeah. I literally, and I do mean this in an almost literal sense, other than a bathroom and somehow getting my carcass down the stairs to get some Gatorade, I didn't leave my bed. Did not leave my bed.
He did not, and I can attest to it. I had to go get him that Gatorade, and I'm pretty sure I used a lot of it too because I felt like fucking death. Like, honestly, it's good that it was a stomach flu because it did go away pretty quick. Like, at least we got through it. It wasn't like we were going to be there for like 2 weeks quarantine in a thing or completely screwed, honestly.
And it just as a fun side fact about Hawaii, do you want to tell them how much that Gatorade was?
Oh, God, yeah.
$23
for a 6-pack.
For a 6-pack of Gatorade.
Yeah, I mean, when you got to somewhat more towards Honolulu, things were a little better. Cheaper, and I will say this is like for Detroit guys will know this phrase, like, ooh. But when I was going to do Hawaii, I wanted to do it. So we had a very nice Airbnb on the North Shore of Oahu, and that shore is not the touristy side. Hence, the stuff is a lot more money because the people there have money, and you got to get it all the way to the north side of the island, which it's not a big island, but you can't go anywhere fast.
Yeah.
So
it felt like a millionaire's rehab. It really did.
No, it did. Like, we all said that. That place felt like we all at one point were just lying in our own, individual beds. Not a lot of talking to each other, moaning, just kind of
shaking and just sweating.
Random, I wish I was dead statements being thrown about.
Fuck. Oh, fuck, this sucks. Fuck. Like a lot of that.
So that really is.
Yeah, that's why we didn't do a podcast last week, just for the record.
Yeah, it wasn't that we were trying to be late. Like, we had every intention of doing a podcast that was the point of all this trip, and that was the reason I started on Hawaii. And in the end, to drive 3.5 days straight across the country, fly out to Hawaii. And it's a beautiful, beautiful state.
Gorgeous.
Very gorgeous.
Yeah. We saw 2 beautiful rainbows, sunsets. Like, it was cool to be there. But we were pretty much just kind of in this little place the whole time, viewing it from afar.
Yeah, it's the most wonderful, beautiful medical prison I've ever been inside of.
I mean, so it is what it is. I'm gonna turn this a little off Hawaii for a second and do what this show is going to be. This version of the 2 Hippies will be an on-the-road version that will be on Spotify and on all those things. We're not going to have a set date on that because we just don't know based on open mics that we're doing or on the road that we're doing. And so again, next Wednesday, if you don't even give a fuck that we're all on this trip, but for some reason, if you like our show, but you don't give any shits about the fact that we're touring the country, next Wednesday, you will still get a 2 Hippies, 1 Drunk. And then at some point after that, for the people that do care, you'll get a 2 Hippies, 1 Drunk on the road. So to set the scene, we left Michigan at almost exactly around 11 a.m. Monday, December 27th. We did get into LA Thursday, December 30th, 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So we did a pretty good job getting around this country because we went a very southern route. So some people even might go, that's not that fast. Well, because of snow, and by the way, it ended up being the right call. There was a shitload of snowstorms randomly. We went from basically Michigan down to Nashville, towards Memphis, Dallas, that way, through Phoenix and up to that way. So that's was the trip. I know most of you guys have probably seen some of the videos we posted, but we haven't, we were still just doing mild stuff and not giving too much of the details. Do you guys, what were your thoughts in the end? Because you guys were feeling good the whole trip on that part. Yeah. What did you think about crossing the country in that period?
I mean, that part was, like you said, a cannonball run, but it was awesome. It's so fun. We got to see so much shit across the country. It was warm pretty much right when we got out of Michigan because it was snowing the morning we left Michigan. And like, as soon as we got out of there, it was freaking awesome. We were in a t-shirt pretty much the whole way down here. That was cool.
Yeah.
First impression.
And I mean, I think too, we've really talked about like, one of the things that's been really cool about this trip that we got to experience then was that this has been really incredibly creatively stimulating. I don't think I've had nearly as many just like genuine belly laughs like as I did throughout that trip. And like we've all just been writing a lot. We've all been like working on our various skills a lot and stuff like that, pushing each other. And that was really awesome. And that was another thing I really loved about it. Even though we were doing this cannonball run, it would still turn into this where we're up here coming up with jokes at 9 o'clock at night in the hotel room after the ride and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just going to say a memorable experience I had. One of the people working at the hotel was masturbating while he wasn't masturbating. Whoa, masturbating. Okay. He was watching porn while he was like working the front desk. I definitely walked by and heard like a porno going on, like sex sounds. And he didn't stop when he saw me walk up. So I got to either imagine he's just like, do you think he's just viewing it for fun? You think he's just viewing it for fun?
Probably.
I knew a guy who worked with somebody who used to listen to porn on his headphones. I don't know what it was about. I don't know why. I don't know if he's just walking around with a hard on while he's working. They worked in a kitchen. So, I don't know. I did really love, as far as that goes, that Tyler comes back and tells us that. And we had to go to the front desk for something. And Eric's like, you know what? I'm going to call him. I don't want to bother him.
Yeah,
like, yeah, sure. Like, okay, so what? So you're just like, I wish so bad you had been on the phone. Just like, hey, you know what, my man? Do whatever you want with your left hand. I need some help real quick.
I look at from a fucking guy who's masturbated in a lot of places I shouldn't have to another. I had to game respect game. You know what I mean?
He
did.
He did too. I can't entirely remember what you said when I told you.
I do.
What do you?
Yeah. So Tyler walks in the room and he goes, dude, the guy up at the front, I just walked in, like he's at the front desk up there watching porn on his either phone or computer. I'm like, that's badass.
Yeah, just totally badass. And then, like he said, he didn't want to go up and bother him to get something because he's like, I don't want to interrupt his time. You know, he's doing his stuff.
Doing his thing.
I want to be clear, watching porn at the front desk where you're working is not badass. Getting a blowjob under the desk where you're working is badass. Watching porn is the saddest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, I'll show you. I'll tell you some stories of my life. But anyway, leave it for another time. So something I want to say, like as we get on this trip, and these on the road episodes in the future will mostly be focused on what we have done in the last week, what we're on. Stuff like that. You'll of course go with it because we're going to work with being active on our social media, and we took a small little break. Some of us still posted things here and there, but it was a very sparse near the end of the Hawaii because we were sick and not just sick, but like knowing that we weren't going to post and not explain it yet. It was just an awkward situation. We didn't want to like post stuff.
Deflated that balloon.
Yeah, no, that was fine. And so anyway, I wanted to get into this, and because it's like we're now about a week and a half on the road. I've never been personally on the road this long before, and going through a sickness so early too, it made me realize, certainly I thought I had planned for this. I thought, yeah, whatever, man. You see those guys that do comedy or this or that, and they just roll into each city, town to town. And I'm someone who loves hotels. I'm someone who loves the road. I didn't really think about the fact that in the end, hotel beds are hotel beds, and you are sitting with 3 guys in a room. So far as we're about a week and a half in, Tyler, you can do yours, and then Scott can do yours. But like, just what are your thoughts so far of being like a week and a half now? I'm assuming. I know you've lived other places, but I bet you haven't been on the road.
I haven't been on the road this long. Definitely not. I've lived across the country. I've stayed at I lived at Yellowstone and worked there at the national park for 2 years. I lived at the Grand Canyon for a year. So it's like I've had some experience, and in Colorado, experience going across the country doing this it's been insane. It has been this wild journey. But my personal opinion is I'm so happy we're at where we are now, because we did go through that sickness. We went through all that bullshit, and we're at the point finally where we're settled in. We're at a place where we can actually kind of, have a relaxed day. Today, we went out and checked out some of the stuff around LA. It was beautiful. It was awesome.
Yes, today was like today, in a way, what he's saying is like, today was like our first probably real day on the trip, where we weren't flying somewhere, we weren't throwing up, we weren't, just stuff. We weren't trying to get out to LA as fast as we could. Today was probably the first real day of what some of this will be like, to his point. So like me and Tyler got up a little early, and Scott was still sleeping. So we ran out and got our, groceries, and we're just making turkey sandwiches in the room and stuff like that. So that was nice. Scott, real quick here.
Yeah. I would say like, though, if there was anything that has been difficult at all, it is probably like I grew up an only child. I've had my own room, or I'm sharing it with like one other person that I'm fucking, and that's it. Like that's been my whole life. And like being now in a situation where like you're constantly in a room with two other people, my sleep schedule is determined by the other people around me. All of the little discomforts and stuff are the hardest part, but you know what? Fucking working 8 hours a day is also super uncomfortable. And it is so awesome to be able to go out and like have all these experiences and do all this stuff and everything. And it's been surprisingly easy, to be honest, for the most part. Like I thought it was going to be harder. And like, I know we've still got a long way to go, but like it's kind of worked out really well, even with us almost dying in Hawaii.
Well, it's funny. It is better now. It's funny. I will say though, because of the sickness, I had some mornings where I was really starting to question, like, how am I going to get up? We're really going to go to LA after this, and really going to do San Diego after that. And it's because we were in such that sick haze. And we talked about this. We all talked about this. Like, none of us are, people who, again, those two have actually legit lived on their own. I've always been a person I've gone on vacations by myself, for example. But when you're so far from home and in the situation we were, and the other thing we all kept mentioning was it wasn't like you're on a situation where you're like, oh, we're going to be back and then we'll be home in a week and whatever. Yeah. Like in your mind, it was hard not to remember while you're fighting it. Holy shit, dude, what are we doing? Like, we're going to be out here for 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, a month, or whatever and stuff. So it was bizarre.
Yeah, I was going to say, like you were saying just now, like how it made me realize that, like, while I was in being sick and stuff, it kind of felt like, hey, we went to Hawaii and got sick. This is our little vacation. And then a little after that, it's like, oh, no, that's not what's happening. We're going across the country over the next year. Like,
yeah, and anyone knows me knows I'm not someone who's going to, like, talk to my mom and be like, I don't know, man, this is hard. I'm just not that person. I always just say, oh, I could be on the road for 5 months. I don't think I'd even care. I mean, I miss my cat. Hi, Tony. And but I had a conversation with my mom where I'm like, this is fucking harder than I thought it was going to be. But it was the sickness that was so hard. It was because it was like having that sickness so early, even though we've actually all discussed based on our time schedule, it was better for a lot of reasons. As a person, though, I was like, holy shit, I'm tired and I'm sick now. And I'm with these people that we don't ever, anyway, so.
Yeah, and shout out to Cobra Kai season 4 for helping Tyler and I keep our sanity during that time.
And I'm something to get through, man. But Cobra Kai did it.
And Peep Show for me. Scott got me into Peep Show. Yeah. And that's what did
represent.
So I would say, I'm trying to think. And another thing I'm going to mention too is like some of this stuff that we won't talk about in the beginning. But like look, I've saved up a lot of money. These guys have too. We've worked. We've tried to do this the right way. But it's funny when you're not professionals, no one's sponsoring us, which, by the way, would be a great time to mention. We've had a lot of great people already give us money, and we appreciate that so much. I'm going to be putting out 3 episodes a week. Our 2 Hippies, 1 Drunk.
Slimy
right. a two Hippies, 1 Drunk regular episode. A 2 Hippies, 1 Drunk on the road. And my Biggie comedy venture will restart again on Monday after also a absence because of Hawaii's sickness. But what we are trying to ask people, if possible, if you just watch one of these, even 3 episodes that we put out a week, maybe $1 a week if you're listening, you can send that over to my Venmo. It's Eric Fady. The actual name on the Venmo, you could type in TWO Hippies. And honestly, just $1 a week would be great. And if you can't, you can't. And if you can't, please share and let people know that we think it's a cool thing we're doing. Shit, there was a reason I was getting into that. Oh, so the point is we're trying the best we can. We've all saved up money and stuff like that. But like our situation right now, for example, like this is the first time we've set up a show on the road. And we are currently, for example, holding the iPad that we're recording off of is leaned up against an ice box, leaned on Tyler's guitar case.
Just giving away industry secrets.
Right. And our microphone is on the mini fridge of the room that we moved. So there's no reason we should have thought that we would just turn on the iPad or the computer and go. But we should have all known that wouldn't have been the case. But yeah, we stupidly start setting up like, okay, let's just set up. And it took about, I don't know, half hour to get this.
Imagine this level of idiotic optimism after the last week we've had.
That's a great point.
It's so very true. I was just going to say that, I mean, we did it. I'm proud of us for doing it. We did have that bullshit week, and we still put all this bullshit together. Looks all right.
No, but and Tyler, I give you credit because I'm the optimist guy, but Scott's right. Like I am, like it just shows you how much of a level of optimist I am, because we go, oh, we're saved up for a year and we're all going to go on this trip together and stuff like that, and things are going great. We actually had some people give us some money even, and this and that. Oh, we're in Hawaii. Oh, I'm throwing up. Oh, I'm not leaving the place. Oh, this and that. Everything's costing a lot of money. None of us are doing
this. Is the worst trip ever. I want to die. Like,
by the end, by the way, and this sounds so ridiculous to say, but we were just ready to get off that fucking island. Yeah. I'm sorry, Hawaii. You were amazing.
Beautiful.
Loved it. I want to go back.
Gorgeous place. But goddamn, we needed off that place, man. That it represented too much like negativity that we had to deal with.
Okay, here's the thing. There were a lot of plants.
That's your deal. That's your deal.
Okay, this is all I'm saying is if a Venus flytrap was a state, it would be Hawaii.
I disagree.
I don't ever want to go back.
I would love to go back.
No, I'm kidding. It was awesome. It was a very beautiful place.
Yeah. Honestly,
expensive. But beautiful.
Like it really did remind. Like Jurassic Park was a super big, influential movie in my life. I love that movie, and I didn't know that it was filmed there until I got there, and I'm like, this looks like that movie incarnate. And Eric was like, yeah, they filmed it here,
right?
And I'm like, holy shit, what a next level thing! Like it literally had all the things going for it, where it would be one of the coolest places we would see out on this trip.
I mean, technically, we could see the ocean from the parts of our Airbnb. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's like, it was beautiful. New Year's Eve was incredible. I mean, I was throwing up and it was terrible, but it was also incredible. Yeah. I mean, I know I keep saying that. I'm not trying to hammer it home, but it's just a situation.
No, it was both terrible and incredible all at the same time.
And honestly, like before we got sick the next day, like Tyler and I walked out to the private beach at like midnight and we sat there and watched the waves roll in. And it was fucking 70 degrees. It was amazing.
Yes. A gorgeous, wonderful place that also I don't want to, soon forget.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do with these is the normal 2 hippies, 1 drunks goes an hour. The on the roads will probably be between 30 and 40 minutes. And the thing is, for this week's, because of what we've done, and we documented so much of our ride out there because that wasn't even supposed to be part of the podcast. The podcast was going to be us talking about Hawaii. And so because of that, these ones will be, more just about the trip. There's not much more to say. Most of it is, we've said we got in Hawaii, we got sick. So I'm going to kind of end it there for this week as far as this. Now, again, normally the 2 hippies, 1 drunk will go an hour. The run of the 2 hippies on the road version that we recorded usually Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, depending on the situation. So again, next, assuming that we do not come up with the fucking whooping cough or some shit, but
weird one to pick.
I just like saying whooping cough.
I like it too. It worked.
But so yeah, this will be our on the road version for this week, and then starting next week, and we'll be getting much more active back on our social medias because we're all feeling good again. Yeah. So anyway, do you want to have any final thoughts on the first on the road episode? Coming from room 728 at a hotel.
In LA.
I watched far too many classic episodes of The Simpsons for somebody who's never been to Hawaii before.
That's a great final thought.
Cobra Kai, never die.
Okay, yeah. Actually, one more final thought. It was the worst season.
No,
this is not the Cobra Kai.
No, we're not doing that. I'm not doing it. I've already heard enough.
He's covering my mouth. You're talking.
Because it just I had to cover one of your mouths.
It was fine. It was still good. It was the worst one. It was the worst season they had. The second and third classics, absolute brilliant classics. Nobody was fighting. Why was nobody fighting?
My thought of Hawaii was, from what I saw, no snakes, and I like it.
Yeah. I'm a fan of that. No spiders. And then the only thing I was going to say about next week is my week, right? Correct?
Yes.
We are going to be doing The Lost World, the second Jurassic Park movie, just because I was feeling kind of nostalgic since we were out there. I thought it'd be a fun one to cover and talk about. So look forward to that next week.
All right, sounds good. That was this week's episode of Two Hippies One Drunk. This is the on the road version. But again, next Wednesday will be the regular version. That's just green stuff that you can listen to about anytime you want. And then on the road, and then we'll of course be on our social medias. Thank you so much, honest to God. People have already started giving us money at Eric Fady Venmo. And to those people, we're very, very grateful. But not just that, like the interaction on our social media page has been it was
amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, there's more interaction on there that we've seen all last year. And thank you, every single one of you, for doing that.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
And seriously, thank you to every single person who's reached. All three of us have had people reaching out to us, just giving us money. And it's really incredible.
And just sharing and liking our stuff, like more interaction.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry that we didn't do anything on Hawaii. That was the goal. The only day, honestly, there wasn't a day on the island we couldn't have. In the end, I actually didn't do comedy. I did have comedy lined up, and I didn't do comedy because I just felt like Hawaii is a different bird. They treat it a little differently over there. You want to be more respectful of not trying to get those people sick. We pretty much were isolated for our sicknesses the whole time. So my shirt's on backwards. Yeah, that's how I wear stuff. So
Isn't it inside out?
Inside out and backwards.
Yeah.
So on that note, thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week.